now talk about the Green Bay Packers. So I'm still pretty high on the Green Bay Packers heading into the 2021 season. I do believe that they will be once again in the Super Bowl conversation, which they pretty much have been almost every single year the past decade with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. Now, I believe Green Bay is going to win the NFC North once again in 2021. And here's why. Okay, first of all, it starts with Aaron Rodgers. Anytime you have a great quarterback, an all-time great quarterback, a future Hall of Fame quarterback in Aaron Rodgers, you are pretty much a lot to win about 10 games a year. That's about your floor. That's just the reality. When you have a great quarterback like Aaron Rodgers, you're going to win 10 games on most years. You know, some years you might have an off year, but if you have Aaron Rodgers on your roster, you're probably going to find a way to win at least 10 games, okay? And then based on the roster that quarterback has, you can add to that win total, okay? And I'm not just making this stuff up. You know, Peyton Manning owned his division for years. Russell Wilson has never had a losing season in his career, okay? Who was winning the AFC East when Tom Brady was in that division, okay? So the point is, if you have an elite quarterback, it tips the favor in your scale by a lot, okay? Patrick Mahomes, for the next couple of years, he's going to win at least 10 games a year if healthy, okay? On most years, okay? And the last 2 years, Green Bay is coming off deep playoff runs. I think Green Bay has earned the benefit of the doubt. Like, if you were doubting Green Bay this upcoming season because you thought last year was a fluke, well, they did the exact same thing that they did last year, except they were more dominant in the regular season. I think Matt LaFleur and the Packers, they deserve the benefit of the doubt. I think Matt LaFleur has proven his worth as an NFL head coach. Do I have questions about if Matt LaFleur can quite get over the hump? I have a couple of questions. You know, can he adjust on the fly? Can he beat the San Franciscos and the Tampa Bays of the world when it matters most? But Matt LaFleur has proven to be a really good head coach, at least with Aaron Rodgers as his quarterback. And as long as Aaron Rodgers is healthy, he's going to have Aaron Rodgers for the whole entire season, okay? Now, Green Bay does lose Corey Linsley, who was a Pro Bowl center for them last year, but they did draft Josh Myers out of Ohio State, who's pretty good, in my opinion. I felt that he was a pretty good prospect. And Green Bay did draft 3 offensive linemen last year, so they're going to develop the offensive linemen. The one thing Green Bay has done over the past couple of years really well is develop and draft offensive linemen. That's one thing that they are really good at, okay? Drafting and developing the offensive line. Not to mention, Green Bay also found a way to bring back star running back Aaron Jones. Now, is Aaron Jones an elite running back? No, but he's really good, okay? He knows the system. He's a dynamic player in that offense. I think that it was a great move to bring him back for Green Bay, okay? You did bring back A.J. Dillon, you know, and he's a second-round pick from a year ago. You got Kalen Hill, who was a late draft pick this year, but he's really dynamic. I like him a lot. And not to mention, the wide receiver core, to me, is one of the more underrated groups in the entire NFL. You have Devontae Adams, obviously, who's in the conversation for best wide receiver in all football. But also, Green Bay went out and got Randall Cobb this offseason. Randall Cobb will be a tremendous boost to this wide receiver core, in my opinion. And you also got Allen Lazard, Marquez Valdes-Scantling, Amari Rodgers. All of a sudden, 2 years ago, I looked at Green Bay's wide receiver core and I said, man, where are the playmakers? Now, I look at Green Bay's wide receiver core and I say, this is a really deep group. Does Green Bay have the top of the level talent of a Kansas City or Tampa Bay from a top to bottom wide receiver and tight end standpoint? No, they don't, but they have a lot of good, solid players that know the system. And anytime you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback, your wide receiver core is going to look good. And not to mention, Robert Tonyan had a pretty solid year last year. He's coming back. Jay Sternberger potentially could maybe do some good things in that offense as well as the backup tight end. Now, when you look at Green Bay's defense, the biggest question is, what are they going to look like this year? Because I think Aaron Rodgers in the offense, we know what they're going to do. What's the defense going to do? Is the defense going to continue to get better and better like they have the past couple of years? Or will they take a step back? The Packers did bring in a new defensive coordinator this year in Joe Barry. I was a fan of the move, and I think Joe Barry is going to do some good things with this defense. I understand that in the past, his defenses haven't been all that great, but he didn't have a whole lot of great players at his disposal. This Green Bay roster has much more talented players than he's had to work with in the past. You have a guy like Zadarius Smith, Kenny Clark, Rashawn Gary, who could break out maybe this year. Preston Smith, a pretty solid defensive line, I would say. The defensive line does lack depth, but the top of the line stars are really good. Same thing with the secondary. The secondary and the linebacker core has a lack of depth. I'll get to the linebacker core in a second, but the secondary is pretty good when healthy. Jair Alexander's in the conversation for best defensive back in the entire NFL. I believe Eric Stokes is a perfect fit for what the Packers are trying to do on defense. I loved that pick. That is probably my favorite pick of the Brian Gutekunst era. Okay, and I've been hard on Brian Gutekunst, but I think he hit it out the park drafting Eric Stokes. I think Eric Stokes will be in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year, and I think that he has a bright future in Green Bay. And Kevin King, he has his ups and downs, but apparently Kevin King is super motivated this year, coming off a very bad NFC Championship game. And as your number 3 corner, I like Kevin King, okay? I think that Green Bay has upgraded their secondary by bringing in Eric Stokes. You still got Adrian Amos and Darnell Savage, one of the best safety duos in the entire NFL. Now, linebacker is a big concern for me. Recently, Green Bay did just release Kamal Martin, who I felt was a pretty good player for them last year, but apparently Green Bay sees it different. I don't think Green Bay's linebacker core is anything special. They did sign Devontae Campbell, but that is the biggest weakness on the team, linebacker. But overall, outside of Tampa Bay, what team doesn't have at least one weakness in the NFL? There's at least one weakness on every team outside of maybe Tampa Bay or Cleveland. Okay, so I think Green Bay is going to win anywhere from 10 to 13 games potentially this year. I think 13 is kind of a stretch. I see them winning roughly 10 or 11 games. I do think that some of the Aaron Rodgers drama from this past offseason that the Packers organization, along with Adam Schefter, created, not Aaron Rodgers, it was Adam Schefter and the Packers organization, but there could be some tension there. If Green Bay goes on a 2-game losing streak, what happens? But I see them winning about 10, 11, 12 games. Green Bay's schedule is tough, though. This schedule is brutal. If Green Bay were to not make the playoffs, it will be because of injuries and this schedule being brutal, because they have to travel on the road to Baltimore. They have to play Arizona on the road. They have to play at the 49ers, at Kansas City. They have to play the Vikings twice, the Bears twice. They have to play Cleveland, the Rams, Seattle, Washington, Pittsburgh. I don't want to talk you guys out of thinking Green Bay is going to be a playoff team. I mentioned that schedule, but anytime you have Aaron Rodgers as your quarterback and a pretty solid team around him, I think you're going to be pretty successful. So I think Green Bay will win the NFC North once again. I do think Minnesota is the biggest challenger, but Minnesota is not as talented as Green Bay, and I don't trust Minnesota to win the big games to get over the hump. So that's how I feel about the Green Bay Packers. Aaron Rodgers and the Packers are still the class of the NFC North. I think Justin Fields and the Bears are about 2 to 3 years away. Minnesota's good, but not quite good enough to overtake Green Bay. And Detroit, well, they're Detroit. So that's how I felt about the Green Bay Packers. Heading into the 2021 season, the Green Bay Packers will win the NFC North once again in 2021. Thank you so much for watching this video today. Please also note that the Juice Alert Sports Podcast is not just a YouTube channel. It is available on all podcasting platforms, including Spotify, Google Podcasts, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts. Also, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this content with all your friends. This podcast is my favorite thing in the entire world right now. It is my passion. And I want more people to listen to this podcast. I really want this podcast to grow. Also, a fun fact about me is that I want to go into the sports broadcasting and media world once I graduate from the University of Toledo, a college in Northern Ohio. I am looking to become one of the next great sports broadcasters and analysts out in the world. And I potentially would like to start my own network if this podcast really truly grows. Or if I fall short of that goal, I would love to work for a big-time network like ESPN or Fox Sports 1. I am open to all networks. So if you believe in my dreams and you see or hear my passion through the screen, be sure to tell all your friends about the Juice Alert Sports Podcast. Stay motivated, you guys. Have a God bless day, and I'm out.